The topic now what we are going to discuss is software architecture and design patterns. The different topics under this are architecture business cycle, what is the software architecture, architectural patterns, reference models, reference architectures, architectural structures and views. Before directly going into architecture business cycle, first let us discuss about what is a software architecture. According to all of us, everyone know that what is a software? It is nothing but a collection of programs. A collection of programs together is called as a software. When you are trying to design an architecture for that particular software, it is nothing but you're identifying the different modules or the elements that are involved in that particular software and what are the externally visible properties of those modules, and the relationship between those modules will also be specified. That is the definition of your software architecture. The software architecture of a program or computing system is the structure or structures of the system which comprise software elements that are externally visible properties of those elements, and the relationships between them can be specified. Coming to architecture business cycle. What do you mean by architecture business cycle? According to the definition, the software architecture, it is a result of technical, business as well as social influences. The impact of technical, business and social environments will be present on the architecture, and again its existence, when once the software architecture comes into existence, that is when once it has been developed, it will have an effect on the technical, business and social environment. Since here we are having a cyclic influences from the environment to the architecture and from the architecture back to the environment, that cycle what we are having, the cycle of influences what we are having, we call it as architecture business cycle. Simply you can call it as ABC, architecture business cycle, or simply we can call it as ABC. Actually, where do these architectures come from? As you already know, the architecture is nothing but the influence or impact of the technical, business and social decisions. Okay, here you are having a number of decisions from number of different environments. Like suppose these are the influences what you can have on the architecture, like stakeholders, influence of the stakeholders on the architecture, influence of the developing organization on the architecture, influence of the technical environment on the architecture, influence of the architect's experience on the system architecture. Okay, coming in detail, let us discuss each of these four different influences what you are having on the architecture in detail. Coming to the first one, that is the architectures, how they are influenced by the system stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are none other than the persons who are either directly or indirectly related in the development of the system. Either directly or indirectly related to the system are called as the stakeholders. We can call them as customers or the end users, developers, project manager, etc. All these persons together are called as the stakeholders. Here we are discussing about some of the stakeholders like developing organizations management stakeholder, marketing stakeholder, end user stakeholder, maintenance organization stakeholder, customer stakeholder. Coming to the first one, that is developing organizations management stakeholder. That means the persons who are developing the developing organization, okay, the management of the developing organization, from their point of view, they wants to develop the system within a low cost, and they also want the people of their organization to be completely employed. Their organization people must be completely engaged with the development of the software. That is the requirement from the development organizations management side. And coming to the marketing stakeholder side, what they require is they want these people also want the system to be developed within a very small, less cost, within a short period of time. That product must be released, and this must be competing with the products that are already existing in the market with nice great features. It must be providing a great features to the marketing during the marketing. Okay, and coming to the end user stakeholders, the persons who are making use of the system finally, what they require is the performance of the system must be good. It must provide high security. That means unauthorized persons must not be able to access the system. It must provide the reliable outputs. Genuine outputs must be generated from that particular system, and its usability must be very good. Okay, these are the requirements from the end user side. Coming to the maintenance organization, these are the persons who are responsible if there is any changes requested from the customer side. These are the persons who are responsible to handle those changes. What is their requirement is modifiability. What is you mean by modifiability? When a customer has requested for a particular change in the system, when a customer has requested for a particular change in the system, then that change must be implemented. You must be able to implement that particular change into the system that is already developed. That is called as modifiability. The last one is customer stakeholders. The customer who is requesting for the development of the particular software. According to them, what they need is the system must be developed within the time what they have requested, and no changes must be there frequently, and low cost. Within the low cost, the system must be developed. These are the different influences what you can have on the architect from the stakeholders side. And coming to the next one, that is your developing organization influence. Coming to the developing organization influence, the organization which is developing the system. Here you are having three types of influences: immediate business investment, long-term business investment, organization structure. Coming to this immediate business investment, that means suppose if an architecture of the similar features is already available with them, why don't you go with that architecture? Instead of developing a new architecture, why don't you go with the existing architecture, so that they will have the immediate business for that particular software. And the next one was long-term business investment. That means an organization may wish to make a long-term business investment in an infrastructure such that to pursue the goals and review the proposed system. Every time they will be reviewing the proposed system, they will be identifying a goal and review the proposed system whether that has been reached or not. Therefore, it is called as a long-term investment. Next one is organizational structure. The organizational structure is the main thing which is responsible for shaping the software architecture. That is none other than the persons who are employed, the employees, the skills of all the employees is depending on that. Okay, next one is the technical environment. The environment in which the architecture is currently being developed will also have a high influence on the architecture. The next and the last influence what you are having on the architect is the experience of the architects. Suppose if the architect for a system is having a very good experience in a large number of projects, then what the person will be trying to do is he will be trying new experiments with additional features in the software that is required, and he will be identifying what is the architecture that is existing in the past, what is the negative features that they are having in the past architecture, and what the wrong with the past architecture. These are the influences from the experienced architects. When once you are having this influences, when once you have identified the influences of the architecture, then you can go with the architecture business cycle working procedure. That means the first thing what you have to do is you need to identify the individual units of the software. What do you mean by individual units of software? That is nothing but the modules what you are identifying for the particular software. You need to identify the modules of the software, and that must be implemented and integrated into the system. In order to form the final system, all the modules must be identified, they must be implemented and then integrated to form the final system. And at the same time, you need to identify the team members. Who are the team members that are involved for a particular software module, and the development, testing, integration activities will be only around within those modules. Then this is the responsibility of those particular team members. And then the architecture will have an effect on the goals of the developing organization. The architecture what is being developed will have an effect on the goals of the developing organization. At the same time, they can have a feedback from the system to the developing organization also. At the same time, you can have a feedback from the system back to the developing organization. Now, what is the process that is involved in this architecture business cycle? Coming to the software, what do you mean by process? First of all, a process is nothing but a method. A process is nothing but a method. Here you are calling it as a software process. What do you mean by software process? Software process is nothing but a set of related activities. Software process is nothing but a set of related activities. The activities that are related to each other, the sequence of activities which leads to the final production of the software, that is called as a software process. The final production, when you are developing a software, what are the sequence of activities that are involved in developing that particular software? That is nothing but the software process. These activities may involve the development of the software, that means from the scratch. You can consider this development from the scratch, that means without having anything, from the starting stage itself you can consider this as the software process. Or else you can also consider existing system and modify that existing system. The steps that are involved in that modification also can be considered as a software process. And what are the activities that are involved in creating the software architecture? These are the different activities that are involved in creating the software architecture. Coming to the first one, that is creating the business case of the system. What do you mean by business case of the system? Business case is identifying the target of the market. Identifying the target market. That means within what time the system must be developed, within what cost that system must be developed, okay, and what are the immediate requirements of that particular system, why they are going to develop that particular system. These must be identified initially. Then you have to go for understanding the requirements. When once this business case is identified, the persons, that means the architect, has to understand the requirements that are involved in that particular system. When once the requirements are identified, then they have to go for creating the architecture. Here if you see, there you have written that creating or selecting the architecture. What do you mean by creating or selecting? Creating means starting from the scratch. Creating means starting from the scratch. Selecting means you can select an architecture that is already existing in past and apply some modifications to that particular architecture. And the next step what you are going to do is, when once you have started creating the architecture, parallelly you have to go for documentation of that architecture. What do you mean by documentation of that architecture? That is nothing but each and every communication that is being done during the development of that particular architecture must be documented. Why? What is the need of this documentation? Why you are going for this documentation? Suppose if an X person has left the organization after the 50% of the completion of the architecture, he has left the organization for some reason. Then another person Y has joined that another new person Y has joined that sister development team. Okay, he must be able to understand what has been done till now, what is the requirements that has been satisfied till now, what that person has to do in future, who are involved in that particular system development. Okay, and what are the different modules what they are having, what is the output of that each of those modules. Everything can be understandable easily with the help of this documentation. And once this creation, parallelly documentation will also be done, and then you will be going for analyzing the architecture. Analyzing the architecture means after the architecture has been created, you will analyze whether that architecture is satisfying the requirements that were identified earlier or not. And then we'll be going for implementing the system. When all the requirements are identified to be satisfied in the architecture, then that architecture can be implemented in the as a system. Then when once the architecture has been implemented, technology has been applied to that particular architecture, then you need to ensure whether that implementation is as the architecture what the person has designed, what the architect has designed. The architecture must be the same as the implementation. The implementation must be the same as the architecture. Implementation must not vary from the architecture. These are the various activities that are involved in the creation of the software architecture. Now, coming to identify what makes a good architecture. Here we will be dividing all the observations what you are having till now into two clusters, two groups. One is the process cluster and the other one is the product cluster. Coming to the process recommendations, here you will be identifying that the architecture should be the product of a single architect. One of the process recommendation is that the architecture should be the product of a single architect. At the same time, the architect should have the functional requirements for the system. The architecture team must have all the functional requirements for that particular system. At the same time, the architecture should be well documented and it has to be circulated to the stakeholders, to all the system stakeholders, and all the quantitative as well as the qualitative measures must be satisfied with the architecture. These are the recommendations from the process cluster. Coming to the product cluster, what are the recommendations that you are having from the product cluster? The architecture should have well defined modules whose functional responsibilities must be allocated such that the information hiding is done. The information must be hidden from one module to the other module, and each module should have a well defined interface. The interface of the modules must be defined very clearly, and the quality attributes must be achieved. At the same time, the modules which are producing the data and the modules which are consuming the data must be separated. That means some modules will be accepting the data. They do not produce any output, they just accepts the data, and whereas some modules will produce the data. You need to separate those modules very clearly in order to have more increased modifiability in future. Coming to the next topic, that is what software architecture is. What do you mean by what is software architecture? Already you all have learned what is the definition of software architecture. Here we are going to learn about what software architecture is and what it isn't. That means what you can define from the software architecture and what you cannot define from the software architecture. Here from this picture, this is the software architecture for an underwater acoustic simulation. What do you mean by underwater acoustic simulation? It is a system which is used to determine the sound which is spread under the water with the sound source. If a sound source is present under the water, it is used to determine how the sound is being spread under the water. Here if you observe, here there are clearly 4 modules: control process, prop loss model, reverb model, noise model. Okay, here it is clearly observed that there are 4 modules. Okay, these are the 4 modules what you are having from this picture. What you can say from this picture is 3 of the elements or the 3 of the modules, prop loss model, reverb model and noise model, will have more in common, might have more features in common with each other than with the 4th one, that is the control process, because all these 3 models are placed next to each other. It is very clear from these picture. All the 3 models, as they are placed next to each other, you can say that they are having more similar features than compared with your control process. And one more thing what you can specify is maybe the control process is on the higher level than these 3 models. This is what you can specify. And all the elements have some relationship with each other. All the 4 elements are having some relationship with each other, as it is a completely connected picture. The picture is completely connected. All the models are completely connected with each other. You can say that all of the 4 models are having some kind of relationship with each other. And what you cannot say from this picture, what you cannot say from this picture, you cannot identify what is the nature of the elements, whether they run on separate process or not, whether all the process runs at the same time or do they require parallelly, whether they can be run or whether they run on separate timings. You cannot identify that one. And at the same time, what are the responsibilities of each of those elements cannot be identified. What is the function in the system cannot be identified. What is the significance of the connections cannot be identified. These are the different things what you cannot tell from this picture. These are the different items or the features what you cannot identify from the picture. From the picture, all these cannot be identified. What can be identified is, we have discussed earlier, they are connected with each other. They are maybe 3 of the models are having more similarities than compared with the 4th model. Like this, these are some of the features what you are able to define. From these 2, what you are able to tell from the picture and what you are not able to specify from the picture, from these 2 we are drawing the definition of the software architecture as the structure or structures of the system that comprises the software elements, the externally visible properties of those elements and the relationships between those elements will be specified from a software architecture. The next topic what we are having here is architectural patterns, reference models and reference architectures. What do you mean by an architectural pattern? It is used to describe the elements, that is nothing but your modules or units, individual units, and the relation types that exist between those modules, and what are the constraints that you are having on those modules. Everything will be specified with the help of the architectural pattern. You can consider the client server model as the architectural pattern. From this client server model, it is very clear that you are having two modules or two elements from this client server architectural pattern. One is the client and the other one is the server, and their coordination is described in terms of the protocol that the server uses to communicate with each of its clients. Always the server communicates with each of its clients, and the client requests for some data from the server to be produced from the server. That is the best example of an architectural pattern, client server model. And the next one what you are having here is reference model. The reference model is nothing but the division of the functionality. You will be identifying what is the functionality of the entire system. That entire functionality will be divided into small pieces. The entire functionality will be divided into small pieces, and these pieces of functionality will be allocated to the elements. The best example for this reference model is the compiler. You can consider a compiler or the database management system. In the next one, the last one, that is nothing but the reference architecture. It is nothing but the combination of this architectural pattern and the reference model. That means the reference model, that once the functionalities are identified, these will be mapped onto the software elements. The identified functionalities will be mapped onto the software elements, and the flow of data will be represented between those elements. That is, the combination of reference model and architectural pattern will generate the reference architecture. From that reference architecture, we can clearly generate the software architecture. A reference model divides the functionality, that's all. It just divides the functionality of the entire system, whereas the reference architecture maps that functionality onto the system. It's very clear the difference between reference model and reference architecture. Reference model is dividing the functionality. Reference architecture is mapping that functionality onto the system. It's very clear from this picture. Combination of this reference model, when combined with this architectural pattern, it gives the reference architecture, which is nothing but your software, final software architecture.